Fighting Irish fans have exhaled since this play happened. Even though it is a 14-point game currently, I see my man Phil Jurkovich finding Zay Flowers in the back of the end zone to put Boston College up 7-3. It is currently 45-31 Notre Dame. And again, we will have all those highlights brought to you right here on the College Football Show, presented by AT&T 5G. Treavor Scales, Jason Fitz, here rocking with you, multi-pronged in the approach and the responsibilities, past, present, and future of Week 11 in college football. And we are coming to you on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube Live, and the ESPN app. That is everything I have to say.
Well, look, I mean, we're off to that catch.
Yes.
That catch had everybody puckered up for a minute. But it only lasted for a minute. I mean,
for sure.
You know, we'll take a little bit of drama. There was plenty of drama, and we'll get into all of it today. But I say we get, let's just get
talk some football, maybe?
Squaring away.
Yeah,
let's just start rolling.
Talk a little football.
That game, obviously, is one that we've got our eye on. We'll be able to get you the highlights to it. But we'll tell you right now, it is not a close game between Notre Dame and Boston College. There was a lot of speculation about what would happen there. Not much speculation now to the outcome is right now. It is 45-31. In a game that, frankly, isn't as close as the score looks there. Ian Book has been spectacular. Again, we'll get you all the highlights, everything you need to know about this game coming up in just a little bit. But let's get first, Treavor, to some of the dramatic endings we saw over the course of today.
Yeah, we'll stay in the ACC. The U taking on Vatech on the road. And a lot of people looked at Virginia Tech as a potential upset maker here. And De'Aaron King here in the second quarter finds the right side, gets around the edge to make it a 4-point game after the extra point. Then later on, right up the gut goes Virginia Tech, 21-13 after the extra point there. They would lead. And then one of two valiant drives from De'Aaron King and the Canes right down the middle over the top to Mark Pope Jr. to give Miami their first lead of the day, and they did not look back. Last chance for the Hokies would end in an interception. The turnover chain 4.0 comes out to close out this bad boy. The U wins 25-24. Then, over in the Big Ten, Michigan State taking on Indiana, a team that has been rolling as of late, and it continued against Sparty. Anthony Williams Jr. gets a handoff, but then the ball gets punched out, recovered by Indiana, and their coach is all kinds of turned up. Little over a minute to go in the first quarter. 2nd and 10 for the Hoosiers. Ty Freifogel, 16-yard pass around the edge, manages to stay in bounds, and Indiana's up 14-0.
You can't tell me it doesn't sound like a dish. You go to Chili's, you order a little bit of Ty Freifogel. There's some more Ty Freifogel because you want seconds on Ty Freifogel.
All the Freifogel you can get, all the Hoosiers. Sparty could handle 24-0 your final there.
Also, we'll get you a little Pac-12 update. We are in the fourth quarter on this one. You see it, USC in a nail-biter for the second straight week. It's 27-23, about 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Keaton Slovis balling out again, 25-38, 258 with the touchdown right there. We will keep you updated on the games that are in progress. That's something, if you're new to the show, not only are we to the highlights from everything you've missed earlier, we're also going to get you everything you need to go about what's coming up. And, of course, we'll keep you updated on the games that are going on as we continue through the process, Treavor. So that's a little bit of the action. So
that'll wet your palate a little bit here on the College Football Show, presented by AT&T 5G. Treavor Scales, Jason Fitz here with you again. And a couple takeaways. That's what we do after we run through that first batch of highlights. We get your adrenaline up, and then we kind of calm you down and give you some overarching themes to discuss over the college football weekend. My first one, look, everyone is well aware of the 15 total games that we had either postponed or canceled for Week 11 in college football. It was the highest percentage of games that we've had canceled to date. We had 4 of the AP's top 5 teams not playing, the only one being that Notre Dame game that we are constantly updating you on. But here's a full screen of just the extent of everything that's going on.
One interesting thing to keep in mind, and I'll steal this point from Mike Golick Jr., our buddy, he pointed out that some of these teams that are bad at this point, I mean, what's the motivation that keeps everybody sort of in line with saying, hey, You know, we gotta measure. Like, if you're LSU, your season's gone off the rails. Are you quite as focused? We don't know, but you know, these are still college kids coming out, and at some point, are they just living the college life once they realize their season's gone off the rails? Doesn't have a lot of consequence to LSU, but it does to Bama when you need to get that game in. Same for, you know, when you look at Texas A&M and Tennessee, the season's not going great for Tennessee. Tennessee's having their own issues as a state with this. So, you know, is there a spot where some of these teams that are falling off the rails, are we going to see this more and more as the season goes on?
And that's the thing, right? When you get into these mindsets of potentially those programs thinking only of their own results and what they may have to play for, there's still something at large in play, and that is a question that has come up quite often here in the college football space, and that is, should the college football playoff be delayed by any measure?
Well, and this is where I want to be really clear, because a lot of people this week were talking about the Big 12 commissioner coming out and saying it's been a conversation. I will always go to Heather Dinich, and if you don't follow Heather, you should. We've had her on this show. She reports on the college football playoff better than anybody at ESPN. And so Heather made it clear when I talked to her on College Football Live that she has talked to Bill Hancock, who is the spokesperson for the college football playoff, and he made it clear to her that just because conversations have happened doesn't mean that there's any action imminent. And that's an important thing to stress. They're looking at things like, are the numbers going to go down? What does a delay do with that? Also, what happens with ratings? If we delay the college football playoff, they could be taking on the NFL playoffs. They don't want to do that. So the college football community as a whole, as much as people are taking the statement by the Big 12 that it's been discussed or been considered, they're taking that as reason that it's going to happen. Trevor, I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to do everything. It won't happen unless there's something catastrophic that absolutely forces it. But if the college football playoff committee can keep it going, even if it's inconvenient to 90% of the teams and fan bases, they will do that because that's what they have to do in their minds to keep things on track.
We saw Greg Sankey, commissioner of the SEC, join College Game Day this morning, and he and Reese had a back and forth just about the state of specifically his conference, but also just the state of college football at large and all the delays that are occurring. And I think it's really a discussion surrounding how far can you actually push this? Because the further you push this along, we know from the state of affairs across the nation that this is not getting any better. We understand that the numbers are only rising. We had 180 some odd thousand new cases of COVID-19 just yesterday, and they're on the uptick. So for what reason would you push this further into the future, only to potentially have this be even more catastrophic, to use the word that you use, in the long run? So they have to set a deadline. They have to say, look, we're going to power through, as they have already done to this point, and they are going to do so at whatever expense may come up at this point.
I also have to continue to remind everybody that the Power 5 conferences did not play nicely together in the sandbox when they were deciding how to start their season. So now if you're a Big Ten fan and you're saying, well, we need to postpone the college football playoff because Wisconsin could have a shot. Well, if I run the SEC, if I am Greg Sankey, I'm looking at you saying, why? Why am I going to do anything to benefit you right now? And if I'm the college football playoff, I'm looking across the board and saying, hey, what we got to do is get these games played. And postponement or delay could only mean if the numbers get worse, that there's a chance that the games don't get played. And if the games don't get played, everybody loses a lot of money across the board. Like, I mean, we talk about it. We try not to let the COVID-19 conversation dominate in general this show because you guys want to hear about college football. But I'm just saying, be real. At this point, there is too much money at stake, and there are too many egos at stake for people to turn around and cancel any college football moving forward. I think the College Football Playoff Committee is going to look at everybody and say, hey, deal with it. We're going to pick what we think are the 4 best teams by the eye test. And if that means that Ohio State's only played 3 games, but they love it, they're still going to put Ohio State in, whether people like that or not.
This is the mess that we decided that we wanted to take on. So that's just part of the game, essentially. This is the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G, getting you caught up on all the things that have gone down, all the things that are currently going down, and everything that will go down in Week 11 in college football. And currently going down, USC, Arizona. We have that score update for you. Woo! USC down by 3. They looked so dang good in that opening weekend, even though it was a 9 a.m. local kickoff for them. And Keaton Slovis still giving quite the solid performance, but running up into a little bit of trouble against Arizona on the road.
But I'll say this, Keaton Slovis just completed a beautiful pass. They have the ball at their own 45-yard line, so they are down by 3. But what I think if there's anything we've learned right now so far from USC games is that you want to hold your popcorn till the end because you're going to need every kernel all the way to the end.
Oh, that's exactly when it gets cracking. Like we all are well aware of that. And Fitz, the consummate professional, giving you the live update while watching this scoreboard, I'm going to ask him to do one more thing, and that's give us our top performer of the day thus far.
Well, you asked top performer, and let's take a look at it. Our AT&T 5G top performer, easily Sam Howell. My God, 32 of 45 for 550, 6 touchdowns passing, 1 rushing touchdown. We'll get to some of these highlights, but I got to tell you this stat. This is what's incredible. Sam Howell right now has 61 career passing touchdowns halfway through his sophomore season. That's closing in on the ACC record for passing touchdowns through a player's sophomore season. Trevor Lawrence, through his entire freshman and sophomore season, 66. That's best ever. Jameis Winston, 65. Sam Howell, already 61, and he still has half a season to go.
Still rolling, and so is the Michigan Wolverine program, playing host to Wisconsin, their first game back since week 1. Let's get a little primetime preview action.
Being 1-2, you can tell there's pressure building on us.
We were number 9, and then just not being able to play them and keep dropping.
Our expectations win this game.
We're excited to get back after it.
That's just how you make a way. Never give up. Some gon' work. You so destined to be great. I know pressure on your shoulders. That's just how you gotta play. When you really want success, you gotta do it for the win. You can do it for the win.
This is the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. We are now getting you right for this ABC Prime game between number 13 Wisconsin and the Michigan Wolverines. And
I'm going to cut you right off.
Go ahead.
I think this is the toughest game to figure out of the entire slate for the day.
Oh, and please do tell, because I got a couple factors as to why exactly that is the case as well.
I mean, Wisconsin's played one game.
One.
And we fell in love with it because this is anytime you're a program, whether at any level, and you're used to bad quarterback play, let's be clear, and you get some great quarterback play, all of a sudden everybody's doing naked cartwheels in the streets.
Yes.
That's what happened to Wisconsin fans after 1 week, because Graham Mertz came out and just lights out, right? Like everybody's in love, infatuated. Oh my God, it's brilliant. We haven't seen any football since. We have no idea what to expect from the layoff. We have no idea what to expect from health. We have no idea. I mean, Graham Mertz was part of the COVID-19 process. You see him warming up here. He was just cleared to play yesterday.
Right.
Like, I have no idea what to expect from Badgers.
And even though he's cleared, and like we can assume from this video that he is going to play tonight, but like again, nothing official has come out that he will be starting and that they will be right back into the fold of the number 13 team in the nation that we came to see in week 1. And to your point about the quarterback play, it's similar to dynamic to what we saw from LSU, right? Like when Joe Burrow stepped in and was even just marginally better. And I'm talking about his junior year. Everybody went insane for LSU because, hey, we actually have a sustainable quarterback to throw out there. And then, obviously, he went on to that Heisman campaign. But we're looking at Graham Mertz in a similar dynamic where they've leaned on the run game for so long at Wisconsin. And now they got some semblance of a quarterback, and it's a party.
Well, and he wasn't even expected coming into the year to be the starter. Then he's 20 of 21. If you're 20 or 21, are you like, does that one incompletion sort of sit in your craw the whole time?
By the way, call it a drop.
USC, call it a drop. USC driving with the ball. We will keep you updated on that game. They are driving. They're at about the 35-yard line, down by 3. As we continue to look at this one, we've seen, this is the problem. When you see very little, what we've seen very little of from Wisconsin has been very good. We've seen plenty from Michigan, and it's been bad. So when you try and look at Wisconsin, as you see here, are they still in the college football picture? You look across the landscape of college football. There have been so many teams that the more we see, the more they take themselves out of the college football playoff competition because they look bad. The fact that we've only seen one game from them, all of a sudden it's like you had the first date and it was the best first date of your life, and now suddenly you're in love.
And I was just going to bring this up, the schedule, right? Like we look at what they have in line. Should they handle business tonight against Michigan? Northwestern, Minnesota, Indiana. Circle that one because I was getting ready to say, some very winnable games, but those two, Indiana and Iowa, at Iowa.
Northwestern also. Yeah. Northwestern's undefeated, playing great defense.
Yeah, exactly, and I shouldn't even slight them, right? So this is not some cakewalk that they're getting ready to walk through in order to get a chance at the Big Ten title against the proverbial favorite in Ohio State. But, there is a path there, and I think it is completely contingent upon them winning the Big Ten if you ask me for them to even have a slightest bid in the college football playoff.
You guys see right here Watson getting out there in the field, getting warm and ready. But I love the fact that you're seeing 19 rushes is a career high for 62 yards. It speaks to the new version of Wisconsin, right? Like you mentioned it before, and everybody's used to Jonathan Taylor, right? This is supposed to be a run-first team.
Yep.
You saw Wisconsin come out and be explosive, and I think to go back to your LSU point, anytime a program comes out and looks different, they look like they've really reinvented themselves offensively, that's what fires a fan base up, because suddenly you say, oh, wait, we're doing what Ed O did. Mm-hmm. Like we're coming out and we're changing things up. So, 1-0 this season for Wisconsin, and it looks so different. That's the big key to it.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And I want to flip this conversation to the opponent that they have in front of them. And we have certainly had our fair share of shots to take at Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan program. But I think given the circumstances, given the fact that Wisconsin has firsthand experience with said circumstances, is it fair to ask whether or not we chalk this season up for one Jim Harbaugh as just part of the game when it was circumstances that he was not in control of that can take a detriment to any program across the nation?
It depends, and this is going to be a really strange answer, but I think this will be the only place anybody hears this answer. It depends on how infatuated the boosters around Michigan become with Luke Fickell. Now, Luke Fickell is the head coach of Cincinnati, and we've talked a lot about Cincinnati on this show. You know my fandom, right? At this point, I am a fan of the way that Luke Fickell has made Cincinnati so relevant. And Luke Fickell had the shot at the Michigan State job and surprisingly turned it down last year. Some have said he did that because he thought he'd be in line for a bigger job. You look at what he's done in this same COVID-19 era. Yes, a different level of competition, but you look at what he's been able to accomplish at Cincinnati. If the boosters become infatuated with we got to get Luke Fickell and we got to get him now, then I don't think there will be a pass for Harbaugh. If there's a better option out there, people will start looking at it. I think that's real. But for Harbaugh right now, it's just a matter of what are you doing, as you see, trying to avoid the worst four-game start since 1967. Woof. And this is the nugget that I think people really need to think about. That at some point when we're looking at the Big Ten, you got to ask yourself, are you developing the talent the right way? Have we seen players exceeding expectation with Michigan? We haven't. And that, at some point, is a statement to coaching.
I don't think I can give Jim Harbaugh a pass for this season. I don't think that there's anything wrong with taking into account the factors that he and that program face. But, look, everybody else in the Big Ten found a way to sort of get through it as well. And not only that, you were on the front of the picket line touting the way you handled the COVID-19 pandemic within your program, overcoming the odds. And I am here to celebrate any sort of hurdles that you were able to climb. But if we are going to be out and boastful and braggadocious about what you were able to accomplish in spite of this pandemic that we're playing through, we also are going to have expectations that match you being able to perceivably not miss a beat in your off-season training.
And you see Milton coming off the bus. So many eyes there. Do want to quickly tell you USC has scored a touchdown.
Oh, man.
It's going to be the theme of the season. They are up 34-30, under a minute to play. We'll keep you updated on that, obviously. But, when you talk about Harbaugh and the expectations, this is Ben. And, look, at some point, what you've done in your previous jobs becomes part of the conversation of what you're doing in your current job. Harbaugh has this reputation of coming in and immediately turning things around. Everybody gets infatuated, and then for whatever reason they hit a wall. And some say that his voice sort of runs tired. Some say that the way he runs a program becomes exhaustive. And I mean program, whether it's at the NFL level or at the college level. I don't know what it is, but you can look across the board and say there is a disconnect, right? There is an issue. So we need to see something from Michigan tonight, because the last 2 weeks they got flat out hustled by Michigan State and then flat out played by Indiana. They've got to come out and show that they actually give a damn for everybody else to suddenly buy into this team in Harbaugh.
So knowing that we need a lot out of this Wolverine program to get a fair read on Jim Harbaugh, if you will, who you picking this evening?
This is the toughest game to pick of the year because I don't know what to expect from Wisconsin, but I've seen enough of Michigan to feel like they're not playing like they care. So I'm taking Wisconsin.
You know what? And I can't dispute a lick of that. I think you are on point in every single bit of your assessment of the Michigan Wolverine team at this point. But I feel like this is one of them games that they just come out and overperform. This is one of those games where they set up and everybody believes them to be down and out. And Jim Harbaugh is telling everybody in that locker room, everybody thinks you're down and out. And then they come out and they play above their heads and they put a hurting on a team that everybody loved after their week 1 performance. And we're stuck back in this conundrum of whether or not we are going to get Jim Harbaugh up out of the paint. But
that conundrum quickly is going to be a really interesting situation, because if this season goes completely off the rails for Michigan, it makes the answer to the question of Harbaugh much easier than if they sort of teeter-totter around the middle and then you say, well, what do we do? And then you're running it back and we're doing the same thing in these chairs a year from now.
Make sure you watch the game 7:30 Eastern on ABC. Log in, authenticate your cable provider, and watch along with us. We can actually continue to talk a little football here. Treavor Scales, Jason Fitz here with you on the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G and Sid. I'm going to break down the fourth wall because that is just what we do here.
Oh, no, we're stretching. We're stretching. Okay, they've got it. We've got highlights for you. I'm just going to grab the laptop we needed. This is Notre Dame taking on Boston College. Red bandana, obviously a theme in this game. We pick it up. 17 seconds left in the first quarter. Notre Dame down 10-3. Look at that catch. Skowronek goes up and just muscles it in. BC with a 13-10 lead. Later on, we pick it up. Just muscling into the end zone at this point. Notre Dame up 17-13. Under 6 to go in the second quarter. Theme here, Ian Book finds who else?
It's Skowronek. Let's go.
I mean, this is a fiery game. Up 24-13. It felt close until this. So that's when it started to all fall apart for him, because what do you know? Ian Book found Skowronek again right before the half. Felt like a backbreaker there. You pick it up. Look at that. Now it's 45-31. That is our final score. Remember, the last time Notre Dame was number 1, they lost to BC the following week. That did not, or last time they beat a number 1. That did not happen this time.
Let's head down to the fireworks show down in Chapel Hill. UNC taking on Wake Forest, and right out the gate, Sam Howell to Daz Newsome, 75 yards to the crib to tie things up at 7. Then we move to the second quarter. It's 17-14 UNC. But then Donovan Green from Sam Hartman, 17 yards. Wake Forest goes up 21-17. Now a little over 7 to go in the third. Donovan Green once again on the receiving end. Wake Forest rolling up 45-24. That UNC defense couldn't stop a daggone thing, but thankfully neither could the Demon Deacons defense. Michael Carter, 46 yards out of the backfield. And it's a 7-point game from there. A little over 8 minutes. Garrett Walston would tie things up. Nice little over-the-shoulder grab. The touch from Sam Howell. We're locked up at 45 apiece. And then under 5 minutes to go in the game, Sam Howell, we said it, 7 total touchdowns on the day. 6 through the air, and this 1 on the ground, a 20-yard run. Tar Heels would take the lead there and never look back. Your final.
Look at this replay. Wait, look at this replay. Look at him right here. I love this. Shoves him. Get off of me.
See, and 45 tried to go for the ball with that big dude. Hey, if you don't bring his butt down, keep it moving.
All right, let's keep it moving to Middle Tennessee, taking on number 16, Marshall. This game started in a serious moment. Marshall paying tribute to the 50th anniversary of the plane crash that we all know personified the era of that program. Let's pick it up in the game. Marshall quarterback Grant Wells by himself in the end zone, 3-yard touchdown. Then Grant Wells finds Corey Gamage, makes an impressive one-handed catch.
He got about 4 feet in.
Look at that. Look at this.
Oh, no.
Juggles it. Oh, he's just showing off at that point. All right, third quarter, 2nd and 6. Grant Wells finds who else? Corey Gamage again. That would be his 4th touchdown pass of the day. Gammon's 2nd touchdown reception. Marshall goes on to win this one 42.
You like the All Blacks, by the way? You good with the All Black uniform?
I do like the All Black. It looks pretty nice. All right, Western Carolina taking on Liberty. Liberty. Johnny Huntley, 44-yard pass from Malik Willis. Liberty up 14-0. That separation speed is going to be a theme in this game. As we pick it up here, Malik Willis, the 11-yard run. A little move, a little unnecessary juke. I don't know why he did that. Could have just run right in. 21-7. 4 minutes left in the second quarter. C.J. Daniels on the receiving end. Look at that. Just outruns him wide open. Liberty up 28-7. 11 minutes to go in the third. Kevin Shea, the 83-yard. I mean, this is straight out of a video game. Wide open, and then nobody's going to catch him. Fancy game on ESPN Plus. You could have caught there. Liberty gets the big win. Ranked Liberty 58-14. Good work by them.
You said ranked like you're surprised. I will also say I was surprised to see that Louisiana, ranked number 25, took on South Alabama. Already with a 7-point lead here, but Chris Smith would take it for 22 yards to put them up 14-0 after the extra point in the first quarter. Fast forward to the fourth quarter because there was a whole lot of control by the Raging Cajuns. 4th and 1. We gonna still put a little something on it. Play action. Levi Lewis, Trey Regis, 25 yards to the crib. Louisiana goes on to win 38-10. They continue to roll.
Going forward on 4th and 1. I'm here for all that. By the way, that all-black was better. That all-black was better.
I would agree. I would agree. I think the white helmet accent from Marshall is what threw me off with it. Because if you're going to go all-black, lean into that thing. In any case, this is the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. Treavor Scales, Jason Fitz here with you. And here's your final, I believe.
It's
USC
final.
Gets the win over Arizona. The comeback. You said, look, keep around for the popcorn, stick around for it, and they delivered.
Look, and this is a good moment for the Pac-12 because realistically, Oregon, USC are both trying to make their statement that they belong in the college football playoff conversation. USC gets their second win of the year that happened at the end in dramatic fashion. I mean, at some point, you got to give them credit for finding ways to win. And Keaton Slovis, we've been talking a lot about 30 of 43, 325 with the touchdown in that one. Big game for USC to come out with a win.
I swear, man, like we're going to have this Pac-12 dynamic in starting late, and they may get a couple cats that get in this Heisman race courtesy of some real big-time performances. They're playing during the day now, so there's no late-night Pac-12 excuse that you can make up. So I'm interested to see how this thing goes.
You got to really hold your beer very carefully too. Yes. You don't want to finish it too early. You need it all the way to the end.
Yes, we like to save our alcohol. Big Ten action. Quick pivot. We're not staying there.
Quick
pivot. Two winless teams that we are going to bring into the conversation. And here in the first quarter, Luke McCaffrey scores the first touchdown of the day. Cornhuskers up 7-0. Second quarter action now. Luke McCaffrey to Xavier Betts on the jet sweep. 45 yards right around the edge of the defense. I'm sure James Franklin is asking where exactly is the edge. Nebraska up 17-3. And then later in the second, Sean Clifford gets sacked. He was under pressure all daggone day. Nebraska would take it back on the scoop and score. They would make it close with the Nittany Lions, but they could not pull through. 30-23, your final there. And, buddy, 0-4.
Oh, yeah.
Is Penn State. And not great.
Yeah.
Not great, Bob.
0-4 for Penn State, by the way, for the first time since 2001 and for only the second time in program history. And as we will continue to do on this show, we'll be equally harsh on James Franklin as we have been on Jim Harbaugh. We talked earlier about player development being an issue, and I understand Penn State graduated a lot of people, or I shouldn't say graduated. They sent a lot of people to the NFL. I understand that, but let's also be real. In James Franklin's tenure, according to 247sports.com, if you read their rankings for recruiting in his tenure at Penn State, he's had a top 10 recruiting class just one time, and you're seeing that. They are not as talented as they need to be to win games up in Happy Valley. So this is an embarrassing loss for Penn State to lose to a Nebraska team that, frankly, is not very good. So we'll continue to have all eyes on Franklin at the same level we do to Harbaugh.
And while we do that, I also want to make sure we put a little perspective on this thing, because in the last, 4 seasons, not including this one, of course, James Franklin won 11 games, right? Like, we'd be remiss to not mention the fact that they were on the doorstep and trying to beat down the door on the college football playoff one season where they beat Ohio State, and Ohio State got the bid instead of them, and all of Nittanyville was crying. And I understood the case, but they got doors by Iowa, and we ain't got to talk about that no more. But there's something to be said for making sure we keep even this tragedy of a season for Penn State in perspective, because, again, he's coming off of an 11-win season. And so while this looks really bad, like really bad, I think they're going to offer a little bit more leeway than they are a Jim Harbaugh.
I 1,000% agree, and I think it is fair to say, hey, that they're in a bit of a rebuild and a bit of a reset. You don't expect them to look this bad in that process. I mean, you don't think the floor is going to be as low as it is for James Franklin right now. You're absolutely right. There has been success within the program. The problem for Penn State is they have to decide, as we've talked about for other programs, what success really means. Because if success is being at the level of Ohio State, they're not. And that's good. Like, that's okay. I mean, being at the level of Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State is something only Clemson, Alabama, and Ohio State are. Everybody else is sort of at a tier below, and that's okay. It's just Penn State, I think, as a program, wants to be at a higher level, and this year is a reminder that they're restocking their shelves, and hopefully they can turn it around quickly for that fan base. But it looks bad today.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the names that have come through that program as of late with Saquon Barkley, with Trace McSorley, cats that were really changing the game of college football and were faces of college football. That is far from the case on this roster. And I think to your point, again, when it goes back to recruiting and all of that, it ain't the same roster, it ain't the same talent level, so there has to be an amount of a little bit of perspective when it comes to assessing this team.
It's the College Football Show. He's Treavor Scales. I'm Jason Fitz. I'm just going to throw a wrinkle in. I don't know if the guys are ready for this.
Okay.
We're going to look at the other side of the perspective because we skipped something earlier, and it's important to today's outcomes. Notre Dame obviously won. They beat Boston College, and they beat Boston College, frankly, fairly handily. And I mentioned at the end of the highlight read, the last time that Notre Dame beat the number one team in the country was 1993. The following week, they played Boston College. They lost. So that became sort of a narrative that Ian Book wasn't going to be as good. All of a sudden, they were going to take a step back. That didn't happen. They thoroughly dominated Boston College. We shouldn't be surprised. But, Trevor, it leads to a question about their clear path to the CFP. Let me say loudly, I was wrong. I thought that Clemson would beat them. That obviously didn't happen. So now the question becomes, what does their path look like? And I think it's an interesting conversation because there isn't a lot of, like if we look at the group of teams that are trying to get into that 4 spot, there aren't a lot of teams that don't have some fatal flaw. I think everybody's so busy focusing on what's going to happen in the Clemson-Notre Dame rematch, though, I think they're skipping the most important game. The most important game is in 13 days when Notre Dame has to take on North Carolina. North Carolina has been disappointing this year, but Sam Howell has not. Sam Howell has been spectacular. That Notre Dame defense is going to get its biggest test of the year, taking him on even bigger than they had against DJ Uiagalelei.
And don't forget about Michael Carter and Javon Williams, the best two-headed running back attacking all of the nation in the backfield as well. They will have their hands full with an offense that they have not seen the caliber of this season. I have included Clemson in that statement because, again, like you said, DJ Uiagalelei was at the helm of that offense that they took on in Clemson.
And really, we just want to prove to everybody that we've learned how to say Uiagalelei.
Had to nail it while making eye contact and all of that.
It feels good. Like that's the moment where you feel like you just ordered the whole charcuterie board and didn't have to look down at the menu or ask for a pronunciation. Like that is what it feels like in that moment.
Felt damn good.
It did feel good.
Jason Fitz, Treavor Scales here with you, and I think Fitz, you want me to take this?
Yeah, I think we've got some highlights here on Keaton Slovis taking on, I'm just saying Keaton by himself, USC taking on Arizona. Again, we've been talking about this game a bunch. This game came down to the wire, though. You see Arizona here with the ball. They get the long completion. This is Pac-12 football, but I want to give Pac-12 football a little bit of credit. The defense has been better this year than we're used to seeing from Pac-12 football. We pick it up here, down 23-20 in the back-and-forth game. Slovis able to get the nice touchdown pass there. This one, again, we pick it up 27-23. Not to be outdone. There's 1:40 left in the game. This feels so reminiscent to what we saw last week when Arizona was going back and forth.
Grant Gunnell to Stanley Berryhill there. Arizona goes up 30-27, and then with 25 seconds left, USC gets in there. Vavae Male pay all. 8 yards. I had to take my time with it. I'm going to reset. We're going to gather ourselves and have a little discussion.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff.
Let's be honest, middle of the week, Treavor Scales sitting around. What are you thinking about? Fitz's 5, because it's your favorite segment of the whole show. Come on. All right, so I thought we'd do something different. You know, we like to rank things, and we're going to give everybody the ranking of our top 5. But in the process of the college football conversation, you and I haven't had the opportunity yet to talk a lot of Heisman. And, you know, I was a little surprised hosting College Football Live this week on ESPN. The Heisman odds came up, and I think this might surprise you, Trevor, because the odds makers have decided that Trevor Lawrence is essentially irrelevant in this conversation. As you see, the current odds have Mac Jones as the number 1 and Justin Fields is second most likely. Trevor Lawrence has fallen all the way to 3rd by virtue of simply not playing. I mean, that's what's happening.
And the loss, I think. I think that kind of sways the sports books and thinking, no?
He didn't play in the loss.
Correct,
so
but it's harder for the non-undefeated team, that whole thing.
Okay, well, in the spirit of that, I thought, why don't we have a little bit of fun, and why don't we give everybody, be very clear here, this is if you and I had a Heisman vote,
yes,
how would we go? So what would our ballots look like? All right,
yes.
So you ready to do this?
Let's do that.
They'll pop the 5 up on the list. We're going to go 5-1. So
okay.
you want me to go 5-1 by myself, and then you go?
Let's do that.
Okay, all right.
Let's do exactly that.
I'm going to give you my number 5 here, and you see we have all these great contestants here. Number 5 for me is going to be, he's out of Florida. Everybody knows it. Kyle Trask comes in at 5, which is a little low for a lot of people, and I understand it. Part of this is going to be the argument of splitting votes, because I also believe that I talked to Des this week. Desmond Howard said on his Heisman ballot, if it was today, he would have Kyle Pitts also on his ballot. So I'm splitting my votes a little bit here, but I put Trask in because it's quarterback award. All right. So at number 4, yes, ahead of Kyle Trask, just going to make everybody mad here. But Zach Wilson, if you haven't watched the numbers on this kid out of BYU, everybody's going to become enamored with him. He's completing about 75% of his passes right now, 22 touchdowns to 2 picks. And I realize you could say, who's he playing against? Well, who's he playing with? All right. He's doing this all by himself. Not to say BYU isn't very good, but he's the reason. And believe me, all of you that are wondering right now about Zach Wilson are going to be salivating over Zach Wilson when you start reading your mock drafts as we get closer to the season. All right, so that's 5. That's 4. I'm putting Mac Jones in where he really belongs in this conversation at number 3. And that's no discredit to Mac Jones, but I think we've sort of forgotten who the best player in college football is in all of the land. Now, I would typically, I'm going to shake things up.
Let's go.
This is my Heisman ballot, right? So at number 2, Trevor Lawrence comes in. Number 2, Trevor Lawrence. And it's not because I'm belittling anything Trevor Lawrence has accomplished. He's been absolutely incredible. I think Trevor Lawrence right now is a little like Patrick Mahomes in the NFL. They say he could get the MVP every year. I feel like we've almost become desensitized to the greatness of Trevor Lawrence. But he's at number 2 because even though I know it never happens, the number 1 player in college football this year, and it's not even close, is Travis Etienne. I don't care what you tell me. The best player, the guy that absolutely makes everything go for Clemson is Travis Etienne. He's not getting next level. I'm doing this even though you're the running back. I'm making the change here. Like, this is the Heisman's not supposed to be the best quarterback in all the land. It's the best college football player in all the land. And the best college football player in all the land right now is Travis Etienne.
I cannot deny the logic behind which you made that selection, right? But I thought I was being biased by having Travis Etienne in at the 5 slot for me. I thought that was my bias as a running back kicking him because, to your point, right, that offense is just centered around him. Notre Dame came out with the game plan of stopping Travis and Etienne, and there was no other goal in mind that they had. So that's where I had him, and I thought I had him high. I actually missed out on the Kyle Trask bid for now because I think there's still a little bit more of a resume for him to build up. So he's in 6. Absolutely. No, 1,000%. Absolutely. I'm a Dogs fan. I'll go ahead and claim that. But I do think that there's a little bit more of a resume for him to build up. I actually love Zach Wilson in at 4 for you as well. Like, I am all in on that train. We had him on the wrap-up. You can catch that 11 to 11:30 Eastern right here on all these fun screens that you can catch us on. But we interviewed him, and the shot he took at Aaron Rodgers at having 0 swag in his wardrobe, he should be number 1 in everybody's Heisman list after just that shot alone.
I mean, that in and of itself, I wish I'd known we had him on Spain and Fitz on the radio. I would have asked him about that. My God, come on.
We can get that to you next go round. In the next slot, the number 3 slot, I'm going to go Mac Jones. I agree with you in that when it comes to the most elite echelon of talent in college football, he's not quite there yet, especially, and it hurts him that we know the wide receiving core at Alabama is as esteemed as it is. In the 2 slot, I felt like this was a glaring omission from you. Where's Justin Fields, buddy? How are we just gonna miss out on arguably the best college football player in all the land? Glaring omission by you. And then in the 1 slot, I'm gonna keep Trevor Lawrence there. My namesake. The man shouldn't have slipped in the odds because he's still just that incredible of a football player, and he belongs at the top of all Heisman watch lists.
I'm just over here.
A quick edit.
A little bit of fun.
Quick edit
just
on the
over
fly.
here, maybe. Okay, fine. I should have put Fields in. That's why it's live. You know what? Sometimes we screw things up, and, this is why I don't have a Heisman vote.
I'm here to help.
I'm just not, he'll go into my 3 slot, and that's going to move everything down. I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
Fair enough.
All right. That's why he's the smart one, and, that's also why I don't have a Heisman vote.
It's all fair. Like, we're not here to judge. I want to be clear.
Oh, I'm an idiot.
Presented by NCAA. This is something you're good at. Holy cow. It's a celebration of
even the kissing cow wouldn't have me today. The kissing cow would be like, Treavor, don't let him on me. There we go. I got nothing.
Fire up the first play. I got nothing else on that either. Going back to the fireworks showdown in Chapel Hill. Sam Howell sending 5 yards over the top. And, no, this wasn't 75 yards. It was 55 yards. But look, going from offense to defense, then back to offense.
Oh, that is nice.
All with the left hand. Dog, Jasir Taylor. I'm sorry for you. Diami Brown had other plans. He rips that in again for a 55-yard reception. And for that alone, going 3 different side of the ball changes, 98, like damn near 100.
Oh, wow. That
It's
is
very solid from him.
Okay, that's a good score. I like that. I'll give you some credit for that.
Like, you going from offense to defense to offense.
That was good.
All with the left hand.
Look, I'm still reeling from leaving Justin Fields off, so I got nothing to say. Let's take a look at the next one. Nebraska senior safety Deontay Williams. Look at this. He gets the sack, forces the fumble, and says, no, I want all of the fantasy points myself. Get out of here. Runs it back for the touchdown, all in one. Look at the balance. Takes him down, rips the ball out, picks it up, makes sure he keeps himself going. That is an oblong ball. It is not easy to pick up while it is bouncing and you are running. For all of those reasons, I give it an 83.
That feels weak. That feels very weak.
I mean,
as a one-man band in the backfield playing Wrecking Crew, and you just gonna give him a B.
I mean, let's not make it sound like he was trying to sack, Justin Fields.
Okay, all right.
I'm just saying.
Take the shot at Sean Clifford, too, while we're at it. That's fine. Ty Freifogel, our favorite and your favorite as well.
Does sound like a dish at Chili's.
The exotic last name gets into the end zone. And look, man, the balance that this man displayed after, having jokers draped all over him, spin move out of it, stays up. Shout out to his wideout for continuing to play, but getting his ass busted. It happens, right? Like, I'm sorry for you. But look, he got into the end zone. Everybody's geeked up about it. And solid play. Love the effort. Love the strength.
Wow.
83.
Wow, that's a tough judge for that one.
Tackling, too. It wasn't
it's Michigan State. I mean, we can only do so much.
I thought they were good at tackling. I thought that's like the one thing that they had going for them was tackling.
Well, it depends on the game, all right? You're right. They're not good at holding on to the football. All right, under a minute left in the first half. 3rd and 9, Nebraska quarterback Luke McCaffrey switches to his left hand. Now, I'm ambidextrous, so, I appreciate this. Yeah, I appreciate the ability to come in here and be like, you know what, nope. I'm going to flick it out there. But you know what? I don't think it gets enough love. We become so desensitized to quarterbacks being able to do incredible things. I think this deserves a ton of love because, look at him. It's the fact that he pushes it out. Now, it wasn't the most natural or graceful throw, but still, I give it a 90. When you're using your non-dominant hand and you're able to get it out there and not make a mistake, bam, 90.
You know what? I'm not against that. I think it's fair to kind of celebrate and lift that up because the man did shot put it, but it was a completion nonetheless, right? Like, so give him kudos where kudos is due.
He looks better throwing the ball with his left than I do with my either hand. Go ahead.
Vince Koronic checking in on Holy Cow. I love everything about this play. I know, shout out Mina Kans. I know she hates the goal line fade, but every once in a while when it works like that, it is just so fun and a dominant display of athleticism. And also, he got the taunting flag. So a 92, that is a celebratory thing. I think we should just uplift that.
Well, look, when you're just bigger, taller, stronger, and then you're able to hold on to the ball like that, I'm with you. I think that's a pretty good score. All right, stay in the same game, and we'll get one more of these in. And this is Boston College quarterback Phil Yurkovich. Avoids a rush, throws off the back foot. We went nuts when we saw this live. Zay Flowers is going in one direction, then he's like, whoop, nope, I need that ball. And he tucks it up into his body to make sure that no ref can screw that call up. The level of him to say, no. And look, if it's easy, the DB would have done it too. Guess what? Can't do it. Hard to get your body to move the opposite direction. I give this a big score because of it. The celebration could have used a little work. 92.
I think that's solid. I think also context plays into it because, that's a big play for BC right there. Puts them up and everything. We were all making sure the Notre Dame fans around us, chest wasn't too tight. The lemon booty wasn't activated just yet. That is Holy Cow. There it is. Nice little sound effect to go along with lemon booty. Thank you, Jason Fitz. We get some jokes off. I wish that whole clip could just be reinserted into the back end of this here segment. Fake spike by the Toledo-Washington game. And
I hate this play. I hate this play.
Okay.
Like the defense is sitting there expecting the spike, and then all of a sudden you fake it. Like they can't charge after the quarterback because then they'll get called for roughing if they go after it like it's a real play.
What does you charging after the quarterback have to do with you leaving somebody bare booty open there on the sideline? That's on you. Pay attention.
Brah.
Look, Miami, Vatek, D. Wiggins, trying to go for a pass and just right into his own team's kicking neck. Shouts to the kicker for coming through and helping him up out of there. But let's find a better placement for there. Let's make sure we collapse that next time so stuff like this don't happen. I would rather avoid an unintentional OBJ situation.
I was wondering if OBJ would come up on that one. I like this here.
Yes.
How about a fair catch after the ball bounces?
Right.
You catch it. And then you signal for the fair catch.
Right. Just
1 yard line.
Wrong. All wrong. Because, again, I like the presence of mind of understanding that you can call a fair catch inside the 25 and the ball gets advanced to the 25 in college football. Very important notes that Jason Fitz touched on so eloquently. Ball got to be in the air when you catch it, and you can't wait for the fair catch after you catch it. Now, a kick return gone wrong. Look here. Army, Tyrell Robinson. I know y'all drew this up. I know y'all practiced this. When you see that blue jersey in front of the man that you're supposed to throw the ball to, don't throw it. Just don't throw it, because I'm sure you saw him right there with him.
I mean, that is like a slant route. He's just right there, swiggity, swooty, coming for that booty. That's just bang.
I'm mad. That silence just carried through the rest of that segment. Let that one breathe. That's, man. Bruh.
Booty like prize, like treasure.
No, you good.
Coming for the...
No further explanation needed. I appreciate it, though. This is the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. We are doing everything we can to keep you caught up on everything that has happened, everything that's going down, and everything that will go down in college football. We have the ability to live look in on all of these games that we've been talking about all daggone day. Michigan and Wisconsin going down right now. Michigan with the ball. Graham Mertz on the drive. And look, man, we're expecting a little bit of an elevated QB play out of this team, and we'll hope to see whether or not that comes through for him.
Yeah, Booger McFarland going to talk to us in just a second about this, and we'll figure out sort of what his thoughts are on a long layoff. That's going to be all eyes on this. Again, this is a matchup of we have a bunch of film on Michigan, and it's not particularly good, and we have very little on Wisconsin, but it was very good. So how do you measure all of this, and what do you expect from it? So
and partly too, again, I can't emphasize enough just what we're hoping to see from this Michigan Wolverine team if you are a part of Go Blue. Look, that pass defense has been absolutely abysmal lately, and Graham Mertz and them are planning to come in here and sling the pill around. So how is Don Brown going to make sure his personnel is right, make sure his scheme is right, to at least withstand some sort of blow from the Wisconsin Badgers?
Interesting to see how conditioning's affected, how Wisconsin looks overall. I mean, as many as 17 players could be missing because of COVID. Contact tracing, it's still a massive issue within the state of Wisconsin overall. I mean, I think there's a lot of variables that are up against Wisconsin, but the one thing that's not up against them is how good Graham Mertz was in the opening, and we can see that he is in the game. Again, 20-21. So if you didn't watch Wisconsin's only game so far this year, it's not the Jonathan Taylor Wisconsin offense that you saw last year. It's much different than that.
They are quarterback-centric, and understandably so. They got a guy that can hoop a little bit back there. This is the College Football Show, presented by AT&T 5G. Treavor Scales, Jason Fitz here with you, and we welcome in Booger McFarland into the studio, taking a little time out to chat with us in between some ABC Prime wraps. And look, Booger, we have spoken ad nauseum about this Michigan Wolverine program and also the expectations for Wisconsin, even though many of us don't really know what to expect from the Badger program on this evening. What are you expecting to see from Graham Mertz and the likes of the Wisconsin offense?
Well, I think you guys spoke of it. Your grandfather's Wisconsin team is no longer existing. They want to throw the football around, and that's what you have to do. Those are the signs when you have a good program and a good coach. You take what your team and your players can do well, and you accentuate and you do it. And Graham Mertz can throw the football, so that's why you see this Wisconsin team throwing the football around it. Now, that's not to say that they're not still going to be able to run the football like Wisconsin used to, but they're going to be a much more proficient team throwing the pill around.
Do they have enough runway left in front of them to get into the college football playoff conversation?
Yeah, that's going to be tough just because of the games that they've missed. Hopefully they can figure out a way maybe to make up a game or two. But if they show in the games that they do have left that they're one of the four best teams, they'll have as good an argument as anybody. Ohio State's already missed a game. Like, teams are going to miss games during the college football season. It's just going to be up to when you do play, when your team is on the field and when you're on national television, you have to show everyone, including the playoff selection committee, that you're one of the 4 best teams.
Speaking of that college football playoff, are we looking at a delay potentially in this here season?
You know, I think that they don't want to delay because they realize that the further we go back into January, now you're going to deal with the NFL. And we know that the NFL is king when it comes to the playoffs leading up to the Super Bowl. So I think if you ask the people at the CFP, Bill Hancock and everyone else, they would like to get this done by the date that they're set, which I think is January the 11th is the championship game, somewhere around there. If that's the case, then they don't want to move it back. But sometimes, man, I think 2020 has showed us COVID has a strange way of affecting us. And if we have to, I think they would, but they really do not want to.
What do you think the odds are this year, Boog, if we get to the playoff on time, that we have 2 teams from one conference in?
Well, I think more than anything, you got to figure out which teams are going to qualify. I think right now, the 4 best teams, people would say, would be Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Notre Dame, somewhere in that 4. You can rank them however you want to rank them. Now, there's a lot that's yet to be seen as far as Florida's going to make a conversation. Florida beat Georgia. Florida wants their shot at Alabama. So I think right now you could see 2 potentially from the SEC, because if Alabama only loses 1 time, and that's in the title game, and Florida wins that game, you're not going to keep Alabama out. So there's a situation there. What about if Wisconsin runs the table and they get in a situation where they only have 1 loss, albeit 2 and undefeated Ohio State? Do they have a chance to get into the playoffs? So I think there's a lot yet to be seen. I will say this. The only chance it's going to happen will be Big Ten and SEC. I don't think the ACC will be able to get one unless somehow Notre Dame can pull off another win against Clemson in the ACC title game. Then I think Clemson with 2 losses, would you say even though they have 2 losses, they're still one of the 4 best teams? I don't know. That's up to people that are going to sit in that room and that playoff committee in Arlington, Texas.
And, Boog, I think that's an interesting conversation specifically regarding that dynamic, because if we look at Notre Dame and Clemson splitting the series, we're talking like 1 loss each, albeit if Notre Dame runs the table as well. Big if there as well, of course. But, look, if we're going to say that Clemson, at not its best, wasn't able to keep up with Notre Dame, and even though they still put up a valiant effort, and Notre Dame comes back and, keeps it within 1 score, doesn't get doorsed by Clemson in that rematch, could we then see them splitting that series and getting 2 slots in the college football playoff?
I think you could, but I also need to know what's going to happen in the SEC, because, again, if Florida wins the SEC and Alabama only has 1 loss, are you going to tell me they're going to put a 1-loss Notre Dame above a 1-loss Alabama? I don't think so. So we have to look at the entire landscape of college football. We can't just look at it in pockets and say, well, here's what happened in the ACC. Give me the entire landscape, and I could probably fill it in pretty confidently.
All right, Boog, let's get to the real meat of the conversation here. All right, for anybody that doesn't know, you and Mark Sanchez and Kevin Negandhi, obviously you're hanging out on ABC. You guys are a little distance from us, obviously, in the studio next door. I heard that there were a substantial number of Philly cheesesteak sandwiches delivered today, and none were held for either Treavor or I. Who's the culprit that overate on the Philly cheesesteaks?
So that would be Kevin Negandhi. He's in charge of the whole Philadelphia area. I'm really not a big cheesesteak guy. Like I told Kev, I never really had one. I don't get the whole cheese whiz. Like, who the hell eats cheese in a can? Like, I don't get that. Provolone, onions. Just give me a hamburger. Like, just grind the meat up, put a piece of cheese on it, make it well done. Give me a hamburger. But if you want to be mad with somebody, be mad with Kevin Negandhi.
I'm surprised because peek behind the curtain, guys. Mark Sanchez eats all day, every day. So I thought Sanchez was going to be the victim, the one here, the culprit that kept him from his book. We appreciate you hanging out with us as always, my friend. Thanks for joining us.
Anytime, fellas.
College Football Show right here on Twitter, YouTube, Live, Facebook, and the ESPN app rolls on. Presented by AT&T 5G. Treavor Scales, Jason Fitz, here with you. We got all the capabilities of taking care of you, right? Like, we have the live look-in capability. We done taking you through that. Wisconsin and Michigan currently getting after it. And your thoughts early on from that game, Jason Fitz?
We're just going to break down the fourth wall. We got an extra guest coming in. We're micing up Jordan Cornette. Jordan Cornette's going to come into the studio and hang out with us.
Because you know what? I think happened? We got no.
Is he no?
I mean, look.
Coming to talk smack, but
That's what I was getting ready to say.
Oh, he's coming to talk smack to me.
Yeah, because Jordan Cornette is off cam here, right? And we just got into that discussion about the ACC, and Booger said, "Look, hey, I don't know if they gonna get a couple in there, right?" And I imagine Jordan is upset about that.
We're trying to get a mic on Jordan right now. We'll give you a live look into Florida, Arkansas. While I admit that last week I may have talked a lot of smack to Jordan Cornette. I mean,
Fitz got something coming his way. I don't think there's any question about that. And then the Felipe Franks Bowl, by the way, just real quick for you, that 7 you see from Arkansas coming by way about a 50-yard bomb from Felipe Franks out to the edge, man. And so they're rolling, man, and I think we're going to see quite a bit of offense potentially in this matchup.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And this is sort of that revenge factor, Felipe, right, for Felipe. I think the big part of this is Sam Pittman, Arkansas coach, obviously not available because of COVID. That's going to be a huge factor as they try and slow down an offense that is absolutely incredible, but an offense that is not at full strength, given that Kyle Pitts, who I'll remind everybody, I hosted College Football Live with Desmond Howard on Friday, and Desmond said if he had turned in his Heisman vote today, Pitts would be on his Heisman ballot as a finalist.
And I can't deny that. Like, look, Kyle Pitts is a heck of a football player. I haven't quite associated Heisman with the level of performance. Outstanding nonetheless, but like I hadn't quite associated those two things yet, conflated those two things yet. So we look in here on the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. 14-7, your score currently. Down in Gainesville, Felipe Franks returning to the Swamp and balling perceivably to start. Arkansas with the ball from their own 33-yard line. He brings the orbit motion around, play fake, drops back, and as under pressure moves to his right, delivers a strike downfield, overthrown.
Just a little overthrown.
9 minutes and change remaining in the first half. And Fitz,
do they serve crow in the ESPN calf? Because if they do serve crow,
have to check with Flick on that one.
I mean,
get you a hot plate of that joint.
You know what? We've got an open door policy here on the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. Treavor Scales, Jason Fitz, and we're joined now by Jordan Cornette. I don't even know if our guys are ready for this, but Jordan is mic'd up and Jordan is ready to essentially let me have it. Jordan, So for anyone that didn't watch last week, Jordan Cornette, who may have attended his school, I don't remember where Jordan went to school, but anyway, he may have said last week Notre Dame was going to win, and I may have said something to the effect of Clemson would win. The
floor is yours, Jordan. No, talk your cash.
Hey, I'm just pulling up. I know I wasn't asked to be out here. I see you got the heavy hitters. You got Booger. Booger's going to come out here and say ACC ain't going to get two teams. I've never walked into a space to talk to you two and ever not been hated on. I mean, I came in here last time. We do the hit. Two of my boys. Oh, T-Scales. Oh, Fitzy. Yeah, I'll chop it up. Can't wait to talk to him. And all it was Notre Dame this. Notre Dame that. Fitz ain't even going to watch the second half because there ain't going to be a second half. Notre Dame will be down 9 scores. And I just sat here and I understood, I'm kind of one of the new kids on the block here at Notre Dame. I'll take this humbly. Fitz is a big deal. Scales is a big deal. I'll let them have their moment. And then we'll just wait how the game plays out.
Oh,
to y'all's credit, though.
Hey.
To y'all's credit, you went on Twitter and you ate your humble pie, and I'm just here to show face.
I will admit, when the game was in double overtime, all I was thinking was, look, I need Clemson to win this game because otherwise, I'm
you're going to answer for it.
And I've got it coming. Jordan, I've got it coming, but I got to remind you of one important thing. I grew up a fat kid that played the violin. There's nothing you can say to me that's worse than 6th grade girls, right? Like, come on now.
Hey, let me tell you
this. I got thick skin.
I'm still growing up as a fat guy, and I love moments like this. So that's all I'm trying to tell you. I told you I was going to come in here and show my big behind.
Yep.
Notre Dame did what they were going to do. They did it. And, oh, by the way, I know it's a college football show. You saw what they did against Boston College today.
Look.
Did Clemson with Trevor Lawrence do that? I don't think so.
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence, I don't think so.
Are we placing a little wager on whether or not Notre Dame is making the playoffs?
That's between y'all two.
That was like the other crazy thing is I'm sitting here, you guys are like, well, yeah, this Notre Dame team still got a lot more to do. Still got a lot more to do to get to the championship game. Oh, they got a couple more games left.
Hold on. Ain't nobody saying that they are not able to rise to the occasion. It's just that it's no cakewalk, right? Like, we understand that they have quite a few offenses to play until they get quite there. We'll check in real quick. Graham Mertz and the Wisconsin offense knocking on the door, step, little motion. 3 backs in the backfield. That is the Wisconsin of old, and the fullback up the gut goes absolutely nowhere against the Michigan Wolverine defense.
I'll be honest. I'm going to need Wisconsin to score a touchdown here because I've got the call ready for it. I've got the call ready for it if it happens. So really, for selfish reasons, I need this to happen.
So as y'all kind of watch, we will let this be the tapestry behind which Fitz, myself, and Jordan Cornette talk. Jordan, the questions have clearly been answered by Ian Book 2 weeks in a row, man. How you feeling?
I feel really good. I mean, this is what I told you guys. There's going to be opportunities to present themselves for Ian Book to just go out there and make plays. It's a physical team, an offensive line. They can run the football. They're going to establish you there. And then when the opportunities present themselves, Ian Book just has to go make some things happen. I know you guys got work to do.
Badger, mushroom, touchdown, Wisconsin. I've always wanted to say that.
I mean, that's worth it.
Mushroom.
We were sitting here while Jordan was answering the question. I was like, at any point, if that happens, just jump in. We're all living life here. It's all good. So
I've always wanted to do that. My dreams have come true.
I've already come in here and taken your show from you. I'm going to go back over to ACC Network, do what I want to do. But I just have a question for you.
Please.
You guys are always welcome to come over to ACC Network. What else do you think we need to do? Because it feels like right now, the ACC is on a collision course to have a great Christmas time, because it feels like, to me, we're looking at 2 teams in the ACC going to this thing.
I had the exact same thought. I had the exact same thought, frankly. I think when we're talking about splitting the series between Notre Dame and Clemson, how can you deny it?
Right. The only problem is that next time Clemson won't be playing with their JV team, and they'll actually have their starting quarterback in as well. And so when they beat Notre Dame by 3 touchdowns, that will be the loss that keeps the playoff committee from allowing them in.
You would think Jason Fitz would learn his lesson, but here he go talking big stuff. Once again to Jordan Cornette, we appreciate you joining us. We don't want you getting in any more fights around here, so we're going to let you go do your thing on ACC Network. Make sure you join him on The Huddle, 10 a.m., noon Eastern. He got y'all covered, everything ACC. This is a college football show presented by AT&T.
I love you, Jordan.
5G. Look, I'm trying to save your behind. Don't throw out no I love you.
When you're a little man, you just double down. Like, the more you run your mouth, the more you double down.
Playing a dangerous game on behalf of the sub-6-foot gang. Before we get up out of here, we got a couple things to get you caught up on. Cincy up 42-10 and decides to run a fake punt. Luke Fickell is looking for all the style points he needs to get into this college football playoff conversation.
I don't blame him either, by the way, because for everybody that's trying to keep an eye on Cincinnati, and you know that I feel like I'm carrying the flag for the Bearcats every single week, you got to run up the score. And what the hell is that?
Hey, Kate Pritchett Mitchell jumping up for Jordan as her son Keaton Mitchell runs in for his first college score. You don't hate to celebrate.
That is amazing.
That's the game. By the way, I want to go back just like real quick to just make a note on that fake punt that we saw. 41 was pointing at absolutely nobody, and I don't know why. In any case, Felipe Franks, this is what I was referring to earlier, a 47-yard bomb. Mike Woods on the receiving end of it. Florida and Arkansas were tied at 7 after that. Florida currently holds the lead 14-7, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in my ear, producer, if you got me. In any case, that has been one heck of a Week 11 edition of the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G.
And let me just say, when your kid scores their first touchdown, you celebrate however the heck
you whatever you want to, Shouty.
That is amazing.
We here for it. And look, one quick story before we go. My very first college football touchdown against Dartmouth. I got into the end zone. I was very, very happy. The ref looked at me and said, act like you've been here before. I told him dead to his face, I ain't never been here before. We appreciate y'all joining us here on the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. We got you covered all over the college football landscape from sun up to sundown, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. The countdown to college game day with Jason Fitz and Christine Williamson. Then you got 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern right here on the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. And it closes out with the wrap-up at 11 o'clock Eastern.
Rankings Reaction comes back Tuesday also. You can check it out here. Me and Mike Golick Jr. will get you all of the reaction you need to the rankings.
It is a dang good time. You want to get involved on the ESPN app, Twitter, YouTube Live, and Facebook. We appreciate you joining us for Week 11. This has been the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G.